I am on some experimental stuff. They have now reversed aging in old rats. Let's see if my biological age is going to be different from my calendar age. The thing is, it hasn't been widely tested. You're listening to the Brittney Richardson Podcast.
But this shows you that you are actually doing better than the average population.
So with those numbers, so what would my actual, biological age be?
Your biological age is...
Hey guys, I wanted to give you guys an update. Some of you were asking about my age results. To bring you up to speed, I have been taking experimental items, essentially, things that have been tested in the lab for quite some time. Scientists are testing this. Some of the scientists are taking this. And some have dialed back their biological age. Essentially, they've aged backwards. When I first heard this, I thought it was insane. I really did. I thought this can't be possible. This sounds like science fiction, until I realized that this is already happening in the lab. There's already medical papers on this and their results. It just has not been widely publicized up to this point. There is a big difference between our calendar age chronologically and our biological age, which is if they were to test your DNA, how old is it going to say that you actually are? Because we've all seen somebody who has had a rough life, right? And you think, oh my God, this guy's in his 70s, he's probably had a really rough life. And then you find out they're 40 something. Come on, be honest. I know we've all been there. There are things that can age us. There are things that can slow down the aging process. And anyway, so I am filming a documentary. It's going to probably be filmed over the course of a year at least, I'm imagining. I want to do this right. I have a private doctor monitoring this, doing blood work with me. I'm working with top representatives at Epi Aging USA to work with them separately with a lab and test my DNA to see if the things that I am doing are dialing back my biological age. Now, what really intrigued me was a scientist by the name of David Sinclair with Harvard. His biological age, he's 55 years old, does not look it. It's like a mind F, you know what? It really messes with your mind when you look at this guy because he's in his 50s. He seems mature, but he doesn't look like he's that old. His biological age came back to age 35. So he has successfully dialed back his biological age by 20 years, which if that happens to me, that's going to put me in the teen years. So that would be insane. So everybody's been wondering, what's happening with you, Britt? What's going on? So first of all, I'm going to share those results with you today. And this is going to be an ongoing test. And we're using several different tests, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think it's important to note two things. One is I'm not a medical doctor. I research. I would be more, I'm not even, I've never been to journalism school, anything like that. But I'm more an independent investigative journalist. I'm just interested in things and I start contacting people and they respond to me and I'm like, hey, can you come on the podcast? Let's talk about this. So number one, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, but I am going to share with you what tests that we're having done. So there are a few ways that we can measure age. Essentially, I'm measuring every angle with this thing. So I have fired my original doctor to bring you up to speed if you're new. I have fired my original doctor, went outside of my insurance to pay out of pocket thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars because I'm going overboard with this thing. For you guys, I'm the guinea pig. So I have a private doctor that I'm working with who is monitoring my blood work. And one of the things that she is doing, there are blood algorithm tests that are brand new. This hasn't been longly researched, but essentially they They can measure something called your pheno age, which is taking a look at your blood work and seeing how healthy your overall blood work is. By the metrics on your blood work, they can tell roughly they can make a prediction as to how well your body is aging if you're younger or older biologically. Another way they can test this is something called predicted age, and it has other factors like triglycerides and inflammation. So it takes a look at things like that to give you a predicted age based on like your overall chronic inflammation levels in the body. And then third, there is a last way that you can test, and this is the most accurate way. And this is by testing something called cell methylation. I contacted Epi-Aging USA, and I actually had an interview, which I'll bring you on here in a minute, with one of the top guys at Epi-Aging. They tested my personal cell methylation to see how many zombie cells essentially I have and what age it predicts me to be at. So let's do this, guys. Let me start by bringing you in, because like I said, there's 3 ways to measure predicted biological age. My actual age is 37 years old. Taking a look at the metrics on my blood work for pheno age, I come out age 32.8 years old. I'm actually 37. So that's almost 5 years that my age has turned back if you go by the pheno age on my blood work. So according to my blood metrics, I am coming out age 32.8. And then on my predicted age, I am coming out 56 years old. And the reason for this is because I have inflammation that is off the charts. And we're discussing possible causes of this as well as triglycerides. Like everything came out so healthy on my blood work. But the only other thing was cortisol, extremely high cortisol levels, which, as you can imagine, the stress that I've been through, especially this year, we've all been through with COVID, and especially being a truck driver and seeing everything that's happened in our cities. Like, this has been an extremely stressful year for me. So it's no surprise that my cortisol levels are high, and also stress can lead to high inflammation. We think this has a lot to do with stress causing an artificial inflammation reading, not to mention the fact that I was running like 5 miles a day, right? Like immediately before this test. And as you all know, when you're exercising like excessively, that can cause inflammation. So I will tell you this, one thing I didn't share with you before, because a huge factor of aging are Igf-1 levels. Whenever you're running an Igf level of lower than 150, which the average American diet, you're 200 something range, which is not good because you look at the average medical problems that people have as they get older. So they're finding that a 150 or lower is extremely optimal and leads to lower heart attack risk, lower cancer risk. Like there's Krista Verde's one doctor with the University of Illinois, I believe, that she's tested this. I know David Sinclair has tested this as well as far as the increase in sirtuin. So this is becoming widely tested. My Igf-1 levels came out at a 90. So nearly half of the maximum healthy, according to a lot of research, crucial for dialing back age and slowing the aging process overall. You know, is it going to contribute to overall longevity? So I'm very excited to see this. And for the test that you've all been waiting for, the cell methylation, the holdup was this. I received the test results from the lab. They sent it over through email and opened the PDF and look at the chart, and I could not understand this thing for the life of me. The only thing I could gather was that I'm either somewhere between 8 years old, 34 years old, 40 something years old, and between like 80 something. This chart was so freaking hard to understand. And I tried to be nice, but I sent an email back and pretty much told him, look, this is complicated. It's hard to understand. how is a normal person going to understand this? Because I want to make this stuff available for you guys. They're very affordable. They have a great reputation. They have top scientists working for them. So I sent an email over and pretty much told them, look, if I can't get a clear answer, I'm going to contact another company. We'll see if we can't find another lab to work with. Not even 5 minutes later, guys, I get a top official with the company, like PhD, senior scientific consultant with epi aging. And he said, Britt, here's my WhatsApp. Here's my Zoom info. Can we do a Zoom call like right now? So that is exactly what we did. And it was supposed to be like a private one-on-one meeting with me and one of the heads of the companies here. I have to be honest. I'm the film person. So I asked the guy, I put him on the spot. As soon as I had him on Zoom, I put him on the spot and said, hey, would you be willing to record this so that we can bring others into this interview, see what you're like, what the company's like, learn more about it, and also learn more about these test results, because we wanted to discuss these and clarify what my biological age actually is. And that interview is what I want to bring you into right now. I was so impressed that you had gotten back to me so quickly, especially talking about how to use the epi chart, because that was so confusing to me. Let me just,
I'm the senior consultant, scientific consultant of the company, but I have multiple roles. I'm also the product manager. I am the security officer. I do the marketing. I do everything. And plus I do the scientific research in the company. My motto is when the customer pays, he deserves to be replied immediately. So that's and there is no weekends, there is no hours then you can rest from the customer. When you get the question, you need to reply. So that's why I created the email that info@epi-age.com that goes direct to me. And because I know that the people in the lab, they are working 5 days, and after 6 p.m. they go home and they're not opening. I'm available 7 days a week, and I'm available 24 hours. And even at night, I answer. Because I think this is how you should respect your customer. If there is any concern, it should be addressed immediately. The feedback is very important. So I appreciate any feedback. When you get criticism, it's better than you get, okay, wow, it's such a great product. I don't care when you say it's a great product. I appreciate criticism because only through the criticism we improve. And as you notice, we never ask the age before. We never ask the age. I know many companies, they do ask. And I don't know why do they need them, the age of the customer. I agree.
I think the way you do it is the way that you don't ask the age. I think that's amazing. It shows transparency and that you're focused on the lab results.
You spit, wherever you spit, you give us, and we share the results blindly, completely. And then we ask you, now, can you share with us your age? Yes, that will be nice because we are improving our model from these results because more people we have their real ages with our age, we can see how in a general population the age look like, and then we can improve,
I was going to ask you, speaking of that, what do you guys test for when you're testing? Are you guys testing for telomere length, cell methylation?
No. Methylation, yeah. So since, the telomeres, it's a long time the telomeres were discussing, and it's known in the field that with the age, the telomere is getting shortened. But in terms of the accuracy, the telomeres are not very accurate with the aging. And that's why recently, I think it's already 8 years, when Horvath first described epigenetic log based on DNA methylation. And the most accurate today, the most accurate biological age, it's based on DNA methylation. And DNA methylation, it's a programming language, Our DNA is a hardware, but hardware is useless if you don't apply install any program, right? What you can do with your computer if you don't have any program, if you don't have Windows, if you don't have Word. So the DNA methylation, it's a programming language that programs our genes. Our genes cannot do anything if you don't install the software. And the software is a DNA methylation.
Yeah, which goes back to like the DNA, the information theory of aging that I know David's talked a lot about, and how we can lose that information with when you have senescent cells, zombie cells increasing, and all of these things. So that's really exciting to hear that you guys are checking out the cell methylation, because that's really what I was looking for.
Right.
And I was trying to find, I know you can do it with blood work. There's different labs that'll do it, but it's more costly. And I knew my audience when I put this documentary out that I'm filming, it's probably going to take me a year to film this thing, but I want to do it right. And but when I put it out, I know my audience is going to be less likely to want to have extensive blood work done versus being able to do something like a saliva test, et cetera, which you guys offer.
What's our approach? And, the founder of our company is Professor Moshe Schiff. Moshe is one of pioneers in the DNA methylation. He started DNA methylation 30 years ago. Then nobody was talking about DNA methylation. And so he actually first was who pointed and noticed that DNA methylation can be the hallmark and it can be the marker of the cancer. And now one of the hallmark of cancer is the DNA methylation changes. And he founded this company, HKGP Therapeutics, 3 years ago. I was his postdoc.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Horvath actually came up with this idea that you can actually find in the genome markers that can very nicely, precisely correlate with the chronological age. This is how he developed his clock, that it correlates very nicely with the age. And then we were developing our clock. We also based on we're comparing to the Horvath clock. But our approach was different. First of all, we wanted to use saliva, not the blood or urine, because you want just to speed. And then when we wanted to see if we can predict with the same accuracy using the saliva, not the blood. We found that we don't need to use 353 sites to accurately predict age. So I think it's twice more expensive than ours, and they are using blood and urine.
I have to say, I am so impressed that you took the time to actually get a hold of me and say, hey, here's my WhatsApp, here's my Zoom, let's talk. That impressed me a lot. Here's what confused me, I guess, on the email I got from you guys on my age results.
Okay, let me just ask you before. This was done through our reseller in United States, right? So you didn't get the results through the app, right?
Yeah, that was also confusing. The app
Right.
showing that it's still in transit, and the email is showing results.
Because I will tell you, so our reseller, that guy Isaac, he sent you the kit. Now, in United States, this is his territory. He sent with email the PDF, as far as I know, the results. So I have no idea how he provide the results. That's why I wanted to understand why PDF, why email, because we have an app, and then a person can get their age on their app. It's not perfect app. We get many complaints, but once I get complaint, I send immediately to my IT team. I ask them, please fix immediately. So we have a lot of bugs, that's the, but I try to fix it.
I have to, once again, I have to give you a lot of credit too, because like you said, apps are not cheap to produce, and they have glitches. It's something that has to be perfected. Everybody deals with it. And the fact that you guys are honest enough to say, you know what, we've had some problems, but we are on it. Yes. That, your integrity is amazing. But I guess what was confusing, it says on the results, it's got a little chart, and above the chart, it says the average chronological chronological age for people with your age, and then it has like 34.8.
Hold on, 40. So average expected chronological age 44.8.
34.
34. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is epi age?
The epi age is 40.7.
40.7. Okay.
I think what was confusing me is how it's worded, because it says change score. So I didn't know if that was like you're 40 years different than an average. Like that was really confusing.
I know it's a confusing, but what we try to do, can I ask you your real age?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm putting it on the documentary. I'm 37.
37.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I can understand what's going on here. So your epi age results, it's 40.7. 40.7. Your real age is 37, and your expected chronological age is 34.8. Okay. When we started to offer epigenetic age, we were giving only epigenetic age results. But what does it mean? We wanted to share the results of the general population, on the average population with the same age group. Because to know, so where you compare to others. And that's why we calculated the ages of the people in the same age group and their epigenetic age. And
okay, so you guys, sorry to interrupt, but so you guys, to know that information, those are the ones you had to ask their actual age, like afterwards. Okay, that was confusing to me too. I was like,
so
how do you know that?
That means that people with who got the results 40.7, their real age is approximately 34.8. The people who is 35 years old, they are epigenetically 5 years older.
Okay.
Now, you understand? Now, I know it's a confusing, and we are changing the things. We want to not to show the expected chronological age, but we want to show age acceleration, deceleration. So that means, so it's compared to you. Are you accelerating or you decelerating? So we are working on this. But this show you that you are actually doing better than the average population. This is what we want to tell you.
Okay, so let's ask, so with those numbers, so what would my actual like biological age be?
Your biological age is 40.7.
0.7. Okay.
But people with this epigenetic age, with epi age, in reality, in the chronologically, they are 34.8. But you know your age. You are 37.
Oh, so, I got it. So normally they're like 6 years older on their biological age, but I'm only 3.
Right. And this is what we noticed. That young people, even younger than 20 years old, they are biologically, in most of the cases, they are much older biologically. What is human being lifespan? Approximately 40 years old. That's all.
Especially my family. Most of them have died of heart attacks. That's why I took my health so seriously. I'm like, I got to get this. I want to be in like perfect health because everybody else is dying.
200 years ago, most of the people, they live till 40 and that's it, right? So now why we have this lifespan now, 80, 85, it's not surprising anymore, right?
Yeah, I think it's up to 85 now.
Because we have the medicine improved, and we have this vaccination, we have this, we have that. We change things through the time. So now that's why we are. But evolutionarily, we should live till 40 years old. That's the human being lifespan. And you can notice that every different animals, ants, flies, elephants, they have different lifespan, which is genetically predetermined. It's a genetics and plus epigenetics that determine that this elephant will live 50 years. I don't know exactly how long, but the turtles will live. We know that they live much longer. And we know the birds, they live like 5 years. We know that cats lived 15 years old, 15 Yes, only. Right? What determines that? So, but if the cat lives at home, it will live till 15. If it lives outside, it will live probably 9 years or 8 years, not because it will be killed by other animals, but because it's exposed to more infections, my domestic, and there is an online calculator. I wanted to know my cat, how old is in a human age. And then the calculator, it's online calculator, it tells you, is your cat domestic, full-time at home, or both at home and outside, or only outside. So my cat always at home. It never goes outside. So and my cat is 10 years old almost. So in the human years, if you convert, my cat is 56. If it was going outside, it would be 70. If it's only outside, it will be 85. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I love cats. I haven't had a cat in years, but when I get a cat, I'm going to have to check out the calculator, because
there is, by the way, already a cat clock that developed, I think. There is some clocks that developed also for the animals, biological clocks.
That's crazy. Wow. What got you interested in like all of this age stuff? Because you seem very interested in it, like I do.
I'm scientist, and I just interested in do this to study. First of all, the most important, the most interesting thing is, honestly, I'm collecting all this information from you guys and use it for myself.
I would do the same thing. I'd be like, this is the most epic test that I could do here. Awesome.
For me, it's interest. I like investigation. I like research, and I'm enjoying when I'm so happy. It makes me so happy when I see the report from getting some email that, wow, thanks you so much. I got my age results and it looks very nice. I am chronologically 40, but epigenetically 35. I'm very happy. And when we predict age completely blinding, and they very close to each other, I'm also feel very happy. For me, it's like it's the best. The rest of the weekend is like amazing. I had a customer once, and he lives in Shanghai. Of course, it's all blinded. We never know unless they're contacting with us. They share with us all the information. And this guy went too far. He got his results, and he was epigenetically much older than he is chronologically age. And then he contacted me. I said, look, we can repeat the test. We can repeat. We don't charge for that, but let's repeat. We repeated his test maybe 12 times. 12 times. And we're not talking anymore about making the profit, but I want to understand what's going on. If there is any technical glitch. And we didn't find anything. I said, look, we are getting the same results all the time. And then he shared with me all his medical cards, medical information. He sent me his pictures, his photos taking there and there. He said, look, I'm healthy life and this, and I'm doing exercises and the diet, and why I am older. I said, I cannot tell you, because epigenetic age is a very complicated. It's not easy. There are many factors that affect. Mm-hmm. I don't want to scare the person, but we know that many chronic diseases can affect. I'm not the doctor, and it's not my. I cannot tell the person, look, there are certain diseases that can accelerate your age, though you are very healthy and your weight is perfect and you're doing exercises, 5 miles every day running, but maybe there is something happening. I don't know. How can I tell you? We know that the people with the CMV viruses, they get accelerated. We know people, for example, we did the research, we didn't publish yet, with the Down syndrome, they are 20 years older than their real ages, and we know that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and we know that with the cancer can accelerate the age, and the different chronic disease, stress can accelerate the age. Living under the stress, it's actually accelerating your age, and we know that many diseases coming from the stress. Living in the polluted city can accelerate your age. So I asked him, where do you live? He said, I live in Shanghai. And I said, look, Shanghai is one of the most polluted cities. You can have it, So how can you recommend? I cannot recommend. I'm not a doctor. My PhD in biology. I am an epigenetist. You use our clock as a thermometer.
Love your passion. Like that's one thing I've always liked about David Sinclair as well. Being a scientist, you can tell he has this smirk that he gets, and he's genuinely intrigued on this whole process and learning how aging works and can we dial back the clock and extend life. That's what I love to see, because I think there's a lot of people in the scientific world, and I'm not trying to judge, but I think there's a lot of people in the scientific world that they just don't have any passion. It's just like they're just going through the motions. And I think in my opinion, the best scientists are the ones who have a passion for what they're doing. I've wondered for years, like we've seen all the medical advancements all around us, and yet it's like we're still, and I understand blood work, it's probably statistically the most accurate, blah, 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 blah. But I keep thinking to myself, like, there's got to be a simpler way. Like we've made so many advancements. There should be a simple way for people who maybe can't afford the high dollar blood work to be able to test for certain things. So the fact that you're doing that is amazing.
To be honest, the Horvath clock that they sent lab test, it's not difficult. You can do it at home. There is some tool, I think FDA approved, and you can take easily. So, but why? And I believe that they can use saliva as well, because his clock is very good. They could use saliva, but why they didn't do saliva? Because most of his research were done on blood. So this is what I know. I read papers and I know what he published every year. He published thousands, hundreds of papers, and everything is on blood, mostly. And when the company came to him and asked him to license, he said probably that, yes, let's do that, but we'll do that only on blood, because most of my publications are on blood. And he doesn't care about the business. He's a scientist. Mm-hmm. He only can trust what he published, and he published mostly blood. That's why this company, Zymo Research, who sells DNM Age, they stuck with the blood. So that's why they have this blood kit, but not the saliva.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll be in touch on email for sure.
Okay.
So I don't know if you caught all of that in the interview. What is happening with epi-aging, what they do is they do not ask your age ahead of time, your calendar age. They simply collect the specimen that you provide, send it to the lab, they test it, and have an independent results, which I really appreciate them doing it that way. There's more transparency. It looks better. But one thing that they like to do is afterwards, they do like to ask people's age. After the results have come back, you've received your test results, they like to verify your age at that point, your calendar age. And the reason being is they want to understand what the averages are with people out there. So what has happened is my epi age came back 40.7 years old based on cell methylation alone. So what they're finding is that the average person that came back with a reading of 40.7 years old was in reality 34.8 years old calendar age. Now, why this is important and what this means is there's a 6-year difference between your calendar age and the age that people typically come out biologically. So in other words, the average out of everybody that they have tested, people are coming out 6 years older on average biologically than they are according to their calendar age. The reason this is so significant for me, and the reason they list both of these things on the lab results, is because I'm 37 years old. I'm actually 37 and a half. And my age came out 40.7, which means I only came out approximately 3 years older than my calendar age. The average is 6. So as David explained to me, he said that's actually significant because we would expect you to come out 6 years older. You only came out 3. So I'm already coming out 50% younger than their typical test group is for that calendar age. So I say all that to say this. So typically, according to their results, they would expect me to be 34.8 years old, seeing that on average, everybody comes out about 6 years older to kind of calibrate everything. So the early indicators are that my age has either halted or reversed somewhat, because on the pheno age, it has reversed according to the blood work. And from the biological cell methylation test, it's already been a vast improvement for what they would expect for my age. So something is happening. You've been listening to the Brittney Richardson Podcast.